Chris, as a combat veteran who served in Afghanistan when the first troops in, you fought there, you trained the Afghans. What was it like to watch the fall of Afghanistan and the unfolding chaos in Kabul?
Heartbreaking. I spent last Friday, weeping all day long because I was just so heartbroken, and then I just kind of got angry after that because I think I was going through the process of mourning. And now with what's going on, it seems like the United States military has finally established some capabilities there, but it seems so preventable, and it was just as a military person that understands military operations and planning and how we do these things, it really bothered me a great deal.
What went wrong?
I mean, I heard the president speak, and you have to give him respect as he's the president of the United States, and we all want this to turn out as well as it can. But you just can't help but think, as a former military person, as former Secretary of Defense, I was in an acting capacity, obviously, but you can't help but wonder what was going on that we mishandled this so dramatically.
Do you think that negotiating with the Taliban was ultimately a mistake?
No, that's how these wars end. You have to negotiate with your opponent, and that insurgencies and counterinsurgencies, this is kind of par for the course. This is standard. There was no ability to defeat the Taliban on the battlefield. There was the ability. We decided not to do what was necessary to do that, which I, as an American, agreed with, by the way. I mean, this idea that like we couldn't have won. No, we can win, but at the end, is it worth the trampling of American values and ethics and norms? Our United States military can win any war. Let's be perfectly clear. But we also have our value-based democracy where there's some things that we're not going to do, and I totally agree with that.
What would it have taken to win the war in Afghanistan?
2002. Decided to make it a special operations theater and just kept it small footprint and not expand the war the way we did.
When you were part of the decision-making system, were you confident that a May withdrawal under the plans that you were familiar with would have worked, and why?
The negotiation process wasn't over with the agreement between the United States and the Taliban. There was a follow-on phase, which was going to be to establish an interim coalition government, and then to, let the Afghans use their traditional structure of the Loya Jirga to, ratify the next government and the next stage of their development as a country. So I don't know, because that never happened. So going, and also the idea was we maintain a small counterterrorism footprint there as well, and I don't know. So it wasn't executed, so I can't say. Maybe it was, I don't know.
Would the plans that you were talking about, would they have been a complete withdrawal, giving up Bagram, for instance, or would have Bagram been maintained as a U.S. base?
I don't know.
In the plans that you were dealing with back then?
At that point, we weren't into the details. There was General Miller and Central Command, General McKenzie had numerous courses of action for how to retrograde. So I did not go into the precise details of that. And giving up Bagram, I mean, those were always the questions, is it Kandahar, is it Bagram? But we weren't at a point where we could go into those details yet, because we still had some other things that we needed to do that.
Should President Biden have blamed his predecessor, President Trump, for what is taking place now in Afghanistan, particularly in Kabul?
Straight politics, don't want to get involved, don't care, it's not helpful to America. Here's what I'm concerned about. Like, if you're a young buck sergeant or you're a young second lieutenant, first lieutenant, and you're watching your leadership kind of play these politics, I mean, what is that the message that our leadership should be sending? These kids are desperate for authenticity. They're desperate for just truth. And when they see the involvement of the military in these political affairs, it must be very confusing for them, and that's what concerns me the most about what's going on right now.
Do you accept any responsibility for any of this? And if so, what is that?
Gladly, eagerly accept all responsibility for every Department of Defense decision that was made up till 12:01 on the 20th of January, 2021. I'll stand by those decisions. I career Special Forces, Special Operator, and am extremely critical of my performance. That's the beauty of special operators. They always do their after action review and try to improve their performance, and obviously there are things I always want to improve, but I will take full responsibility for every decision that was made there in the Department of Defense.
Is there anything you do differently, looking back with 2020 hindsight? Is there any of the decisions in Afghanistan?
Probably should have been more vocal in guaranteeing that the incoming administration recognized the challenges they were going to face, but I also was quite aware that they are part of the foreign policy intelligentsia and elite, and I thought they would understand what was going on. I probably should have been more forceful in guaranteeing. I don't know if it would have done any good. I did not want to further politicize a horribly complex and difficult situation for the incoming team, so that's probably, I'll accept full responsibility for that.
What would you have said?
I wasn't asked, so it doesn't make any difference. I mean, it would have, I think it would have been nice to be able to sit and go through the top 5 issues that were coming up and have a conversation about that, but that wasn't the way it worked, and so be it.
Earlier you said that your objective was to see this war end responsibly. We all saw the tumult and chaos in Kabul. Is this war being ended responsibly?
Time will tell. It certainly didn't get off to a good start. I thought there were other ways we could have brought this end state into being without the chaos and the crisis that we have seen in the last couple days. I also understand fundamentally the challenges challenges in the nature of war: fog, friction, chaos. But we do have a military that's extremely well trained, extremely experienced, that is designed to wring out as much of the unknown as they can. We have an intelligence community that we spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year on. There's been a fundamental failure that we need to look at and see how this happened and what we're going to do to prevent it from happening again.
And at this point, you're not prepared to say what that failure was?
I think it's just too politicized right now with all the finger pointing. I hope to assist our nation as we go through this reckoning and our after action review and to develop our lessons learned about how we can avoid something like this in the future.